Hi, Jenna here. I hope you're having a great day and that the past two videos have been beneficial about the top 5 coping skills for stress reduction and then also working and building our self-esteem and confidence. So today we're going to deal more with our relationships and the importance that relationships play in our lives. Nowadays, with social media and technology and everything the way that it is, unfortunately, it is taking a toll on our interpersonal relationships, but they are just so important. So I want to stress the importance of still being able to communicate verbally, effectively, and emotionally, and having that time and that ability to develop those connections with other people. Human beings need positive connections with one another. We are meant to be part of tribes, as part of social units. It's so important that we have other people that we can rely on, live with, depend on, trust, and connect with on a variety of different levels. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who is literally the leading, I'm a huge fan of his. He is amazing. He is one of the leading specialists on trauma in our world today. He's a phenomenal psychiatrist. He talks about how people who have been through traumatic events can struggle after the trauma with relationships in their lives. Connecting can become more difficult. Trusting others can be more of a struggle, and just basically knowing how to put ourselves out there can be difficult. Of course, that's me paraphrasing. So an experience such as having had cancer, either as the survivor or as a family member or loved one or supporter in any capacity of someone who's been through cancer, it can, of course, affect our abilities to be able to connect after the fact. Also, there could have been things that happened during the cancer process. Feelings can be hurt. People can be estranged. There can be a number of things that happen. So being able to reunify and pull everybody together after the cancer is important. And oftentimes, I don't feel like people are given enough support and maybe structure after the cancer journey and event in order to be able to reunify those important key relationships. I mean, after people have gone through something like cancer together, whether as the survivor or the family that's either left behind or still is there with their loved one, it's just so important that we talk about this and help people again build relationships post-cancer. So since having these connections is so important and can be a huge positive in our overall well-being, health, and happiness, which of course it's fundamental in all 3 of those categories, I have developed a list and researched and found a list of things that can help people in all sorts of relationships. We're talking interpersonal relationships. So very basic. This can help in family relationship, friendships, in romantic relationships, marriages, with your children, with your parents, etc. So here's how we can improve our relationships. Number 1, accept and celebrate differences. If we can, first of all, genuinely and unconditionally accept another person, there is so much beauty and trust to be found there. And then being able to celebrate the differences that we find instead of judging or trying to change one another. Just acceptance and being able to celebrate one another. That is so important. Number 2, listen effectively. The ability to actually listen and not just listen to have a response or to have a part, be able to express yourself, but to truly and genuinely listen to another person. That is so huge for the person who wants to be heard, but also the listener in order to create that connection. And of course, to be able to genuinely understand the message and what's trying to be conveyed there. So important. Number 3, giving people our time. Now, in our world today, we have so much going on. Everybody is over the top busy. We have work, we have family, we have obligations, we have et cetera, et cetera. And it seems like every minute is crowded with something. and to really be able to give people our time. It's something that's being lost in our society, in our culture today, and it's a shame. So really being able to give of our time to be with someone, to really be there and be present with them. Number 4, develop your communication skills. Now, as I mentioned before, in our day-to-day with social media and with technology and with all these wonderful new innovations that we have in our world, basic things like communication are sometimes being lost. We're having a lot of new ways to communicate, the internet, email, there's a variety of ways that we're being able to communicate, but just being able to talk, communicate face to face, in person, over a meal, not always having the TV on, not always having something else, not always needing to be entertained. That's another problem. But being able to genuinely communicate, to talk, listen, and have a communication. It's so important and so crucial. Number 5, learn to give and take feedback respectfully. It's oftentimes really hard to give feedback in a respectful way, and also, of course, to receive that feedback and respectfully be able to try and work on things and change things. So being able to give and receive feedback respectfully and effectively is very important to developing strong interpersonal relationships. Number 6, learning to trust more. And of course, after a traumatic experience such as cancer, illness, or any other traumatic event that one has in their lives, trust is something that can be hard. After trust is lost in a relationship, it can be hard. But continuously working on trying to build up that trust and making it so we can trust in relationships, to give our relationships a fair try. I mean, trust is so important that if we're not willing to give that trust in a relationship, it doesn't really give that relationship a fair chance. And that's something that we'll dive into further on down the road as well, is learning to trust, learning to build that trust, and learning to maintain effective trust in a relationship. And last but not least, in the important items in developing good relationships is developing empathy, learning how to be empathetic. Now, empathy is different than sympathy. Having sympathy and being able to be sympathetic in a relationship is also very important. But empathy is the best analogy that I have is to actually put yourself in that person's shoes. So in our relationships, it's so important that when we're learning something about someone or they're trying to tell us something, a key piece is having empathy for that person. And that ability to either relate back to an experience that we had in our lives that might be similar or something where we can draw some sort of a reference point, or using our imaginations, putting ourselves theoretically into their shoes and experiencing in our mind's eye, or however you want to see it, their story and their situation, and then understanding it from that frame of reference. Empathy is something that I feel in the later generations is kind of being a little bit lost and overlooked, but it is so important, and it is fundamental in developing healthy relationships. So I hope that you not only loved this about relationships, but also our previous 2 videos about the top 5 coping skills in order to reduce stress and self-care, and the next one, which was confidence and working on our self-esteems. If you would like to see any of those videos, you can access those here. And also below this is our link to our webinar. I'd love for you to register for the webinar. I'll be going into more detail about all this information there, and we'll really delve more into life post-cancer for those survivors and loved ones who have supported cancer survivors, and of course your own journey through this process, because it is hard. It is a life-changing journey for anyone involved. Anyone who's had cancer touch their life in any form, you are amazing, and you are who I love. I just have such a passion for this work. So please register for the webinar. I'm really excited to work further with you all, and I have so much more value, So please come and join me. It's been fantastic working with you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Thank you.